Hello, I'm Bella, a 31-year-old single woman navigating the often turbulent waters of romance. Life took a challenging turn when I ended things with my unfaithful ex, and the idea of unwinding at my friend Charlotte's party seemed like just the break I needed. Away from the complexities of my personal life, I manage a boutique in the city, an upscale spot that attracts shoppers who aren't deterred by hefty price tags. The night of the party, Charlotte's apartment was buzzing with energy, filled with loud music and lively conversations. Barely through the door, I was hunting for a quiet spot to settle into when Charlotte caught me by surprise, tugging my arm with palpable excitement. "Bella, you're here! There's someone I've been dying for you to meet. He's totally your type, all into the finance world." She yelled over the music, leading me through the crowd. Before I knew it, I was face to face with Thomas, a tall man with a confident smile and an air that said he knew his worth. "Bella, meet Thomas. She runs the trendiest clothing shop downtown." Charlotte introduced us with an enthusiastic wink before disappearing into the party. Thomas's handshake was strong, his interest apparent. "A clothing store, huh? That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm in finance myself, corporate investments and the like," he shared, his voice rich with confidence. I managed a polite nod, thinking how much I preferred to avoid shop talk. His next comment came as he leaned closer. "How have I never run into you before? A beautiful woman like you is hard to forget." I took a step back, replying with a slight raise of my eyebrow, probably because I'm usually more at home among fabric samples than at finance galas. Our conversation shifted from work to personal interests. Surprisingly, I found myself warming up to him as we discussed my passion for vintage jazz records and my weekend thrift store adventures, topics I hadn't expected to enjoy with someone from the finance sector. Thomas was more than just a good listener. He was genuinely engaged, sharing his tales of hunting down the city's best music spots. The evening slipped away from us, and as the party died down, Thomas glanced at his watch and then back at me. "I didn't plan on spending my whole evening with someone as captivating as you. May I see you again?" The memory of my recent breakup flickered in my mind, causing me to hesitate. "I'm not looking to dive into something new," I confessed. "No pressure. How about we keep it casual? Maybe share some more music and coffee? I know a great spot with live jazz on weekends," he suggested. Starting to see Thomas meant stepping into a whirlwind of jazz-filled evenings and spontaneous city strolls. Our casual meetups were turning into something more as we continued to see each other. Even though I had made it clear to Thomas from the beginning that I wasn't ready to dive deep into a relationship, every day spent with him gently eroded my defenses. One crisp autumn evening, Thomas called with a spark in his voice, "Hey Bella, slip into that gorgeous red dress you adore. I've got a surprise for you." My curiosity sparked, and I half joked, "I'm in, as long as this surprise includes some good food. I'm starving." He laughed through the phone. "Trust me, you won't want to miss this." We met outside my boutique. Thomas was casually leaning against his car, looking effortlessly chic, as if he'd just walked out of a fashion spread. "Ready for your surprise?" He grinned, holding the car door open for me. The drive was filled with light-hearted banter, keeping me entertained yet slightly on edge as he kept our destination a mystery. We finally arrived at a quaint jazz club in the heart of downtown, a place with a warm, inviting glow and tables that promised intimacy. We were led to a cozy spot near the stage, but Thomas seemed more focused on me than the live band setting up. Midway through a soul-stirring saxophone solo, Thomas leaned in close, his voice serious. "Bella, I know we agreed to keep things light, but I have to be honest with you." I took a nervous sip of my drink. "Honest about what?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, elegant box, opening it to reveal a simple, beautiful ring that shimmered in the dim light. "I'm crazy about you, Bella. I don't just want to hang out or casually date. I want it all, everything with you. Will you marry me?" For a moment, I was speechless, the music around us turning into a soft blur, his hopeful eyes searching mine. Then, my pragmatic side kicked in. Thomas, this is huge. You know I'm hesitant about jumping back into deep waters. I know, he rushed, squeezing my hand gently. But think about it. We're great together. You laugh at my jokes. I've learned to appreciate art for you, and neither of us can dance, but who cares? What more do we need? His words, light-hearted yet sincere, made me laugh. Maybe a bit more practice on the dance floor. Anything, he smiled broadly. So, what do you say? Looking into his eyes, I felt a warmth spread through me. Maybe, just maybe, this was right. Yes, I whispered, feeling an unexpected lightness. Yes, I'll marry you. Thomas slipped the ring on my finger, and we celebrated in the only way we knew how, staying until the club closed, immersed in conversation, already planning our future adventures. The following day was bright and filled with new possibilities. Thomas was keen to introduce me to his mother, Mrs. Susan. We met for brunch at her favorite quaint cafe. Her reception was warm and inviting. Oh, Bella, I'm so thrilled Thomas found someone like you. I just know we're going to be great friends. As we settled in, she began sharing anecdotes from Thomas's childhood and even promised to give me her secret lasagna recipe, which Thomas adored. The day unfolded with the comfort of new family ties being warmly woven. If you want to win him over, try baking his favorite treat, a chocolate pecan pie. It's like a magic spell for him, just like it was for his father. Our brunch was a whirlwind of laughter and shared memories, drawing me deeper into Thomas's world, a world I was gradually falling in love with. The day I decided to show Thomas my childhood home was a big step. The house, a grand structure that seemed as if lifted from a fairy tale, was a testament to my father's savvy in the stock market. As we drove up, Thomas's amazement was unmistakable. Wow, this place is incredible, he gasped, his eyes scanning the surroundings with childlike wonder. Yeah, Dad's done well, I replied, trying to stay nonchalant even though inside I was bursting with pride. Inside, Thomas was the perfect guest, politely inquiring about the artwork and antiques, clearly impressed by the details. My parents took to him immediately, especially when he and my dad bonded over talks of finance and investments. On the side, my mom gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. He seems like a good man, Bella, she murmured, very attentive. I smiled, brushing aside a nagging thought that his interest might be more in the lifestyle my family led than in me personally. As we left, Thomas was abuzz with ideas. One day, I'd love a place like this. Imagine the parties, the guests, he mused, lost in daydreams. I gently brought him back to reality. You mean the kind of home we could create for our kids, right? His quick correction came with a sheepish smile. Of course, that's what I meant. Our kids would love it, wouldn't they? Definitely, I agreed, though his initial comment echoed in my mind more than I wished it to. Fast forward to our wedding day, a simple, intimate ceremony in a local garden with just our closest friends and family. Any previous jitters or doubts paled in comparison to the sheer joy of the moment. As I walked down the aisle, Thomas's waiting smile melted all my worries away, affirming our future together. We were declared husband and wife, and our celebration was just as we had envisioned, relaxed, filled with laughter, and surrounded by those we loved. My father raised his glass in a toast. To Bella and Thomas, may your life together be as beautiful and enduring as this day. Remember, the best things in life aren't things. They're the moments and memories you create together. As the evening unfolded, I was enveloped by a deep sense of contentment. Despite any future uncertainties, I felt ready to face them with Thomas by my side. Life after the wedding became a whirlwind as we adjusted to married life, learning and adapting to each other's habits and routines, building a new life together step by step. When life threw us a curveball, it came in the form of my dad's sudden illness. The man who had been our family's rock was diagnosed with cancer, and it felt like it came out of nowhere. During those long hours at the hospital, my dad, wanting to make the most of our time together, chose a quiet moment for a serious conversation. Thomas had stepped out to get coffee, and when he returned, he found us deep in discussion. "Bella, there's something important I need to discuss," Dad said, his voice much weaker than I was used to. He paused, gathering his strength, and continued, "I've made some decisions about the estate. You're going to inherit $20 million. The room fell silent, the beeping of hospital machines sounding far away as his words sank in. It was a staggering amount of money, and the impact was visible even on Thomas, who almost choked on his coffee when he sat down. "Wow, that's a lot of money," he managed to say, visibly trying to maintain his composure. I could see the gears turning in his head, his expression subtly changing, not just surprise, but something else, something calculative. "Yes, it's a big responsibility," I replied, suddenly feeling exhausted by the weight of it all. "It's not just about the money, it's about continuing Dad's legacy, managing everything responsibly." Dad nodded, looking relieved that I understood the significance of his decision. "I trust you, Bella. You know what's important." Thomas chimed in quickly. "Of course, we'll take care of everything, sir. It's what's best for our future, right, Bella?" The inclusion of "we" in his statement made me uncomfortable. This was about me and my responsibility, not us. "Sure," I said, although my mind was racing. This conversation wasn't going the way I had hoped. After that day, Thomas's approach to our financial discussions changed. He began talking more about investments and real estate, about what we could do with the inheritance. One evening over dinner, he brought it up again. "So, I was thinking about the money," he started, not beating around the bush. "We should start looking into some properties, maybe even some high-yield investments." I pushed my food around my plate, my appetite gone. "Thomas, can we slow down a bit? This isn't just free cash to throw around. It's my dad's hard-earned money. We need to be careful, think things through." He seemed taken aback but recovered quickly. "Of course, I get that. I just think it's a good opportunity to grow our assets, make sure we're set for the future." The word "our" hung in the air, heavy and presumptuous. "Yeah, I know, but let's just handle one thing at a time, okay? My dad's still here, and that's what matters now." Thomas nodded, but the eager glint in his eye didn't quite match his agreeable tone. "Sure, Bella, whatever you think is best." The weeks following my dad's passing were among the hardest I'd ever endured. The world seemed to move on, but I was stuck, my grief a constant shadow. Thomas and his mom, Mrs. Susan, were around a lot, supposedly to help. One night, their true intentions became painfully clear. It was late, I was restless with sadness, and Mrs. Susan offered a seemingly kind gesture. "Bella, dear, you look exhausted. Why don't you take one of these sleeping pills? It'll help you rest," she suggested, extending a small pill towards me. "Okay, I'll do that," I muttered, not really keen on the idea. I didn't want to blur the edges of my memories of Dad with drug-induced sleep. She shrugged, placing the pill on the kitchen counter. "I'll be in the living room if you need anything," she said. I nodded, pretending to head to my room, my mind alert and wary of the unfolding situation. But something didn't feel right. Maybe it was intuition or just plain curiosity that kept me from taking the sleeping pill. Instead, I silently made my way back to the living room. The floor felt icy beneath my feet. My heart beat loud in the hushed silence of the night. Their voices, a soft murmur at first, grew clear as I edged closer, concealed by shadows. "Are you sure she took the sleeping pills? She's been so resistant lately." Thomas's voice carried a tone of frustration I hadn't heard before. Mrs. Susan's reply was unnervingly calm. "Give it time. She's vulnerable and grieving. Now's our chance to push things forward. That money shouldn't just be sitting around." "Yeah, and soon. I'm tired of this act, playing the supportive husband. Once we have the cash, I can move on. Maybe find someone younger, more fun." Thomas's words felt like a cold blade. I froze, shock constricting my chest. This was not the man I thought I married. This was a stranger plotting with cold, calculating ease. Mrs. Susan's laugh was chilling. Just make sure I get my part. Perhaps that new house or the cute convertible we saw. Of course, Mom, you'll get whatever you want. Bella's too naive to catch on before we clear her out. My hands trembled as nausea swept over me. How could I have been so deceived? The supposed love, the marriage, it was all a setup. Quietly, I retreated to my room, locked the door, and sat on the bed, my mind racing. They were plotting against me, planning to strip me of everything. I spent the night awake, planning my next steps. The next morning, I joined Thomas and his mother for breakfast, acting as if nothing had changed. They exchanged knowing glances, their smiles sharp and cunning. Thomas brought up the inheritance again. Bella, we really need to start looking into those investments. It's what your dad would have wanted to secure our future. His words twisted in my stomach, but I maintained a calm exterior. I'll think about it, Thomas. Let's see what the lawyers recommend on how to handle everything. The days that followed were some of the toughest I ever had to endure. I played the part of the bereaved daughter perfectly, all while watching Thomas and his mother make plans with my inheritance. Mrs. Susan wasn't even subtle, openly browsing for new houses and cars as if the money was already hers. Meanwhile, Thomas was barely around. He stayed late at work, came home even later, and was constantly glued to his phone. One evening, as Thomas showered, his phone buzzed incessantly on the nightstand. Without thinking, I glanced at the screen and saw a message from another woman. Flirty, intimate. A mix of anger and relief washed over me. Anger at the betrayal, but relief because it confirmed my suspicions. A cheater in one part of life is likely a cheater in all. That weekend, I told Thomas I needed space to clear my head and visit my mom. He barely acknowledged me, just mumbling approval while distracted by his phone. Driving to my mom's felt like escaping from a prison. As soon as I arrived and saw her, the weight began to lift. I spilled everything: the overheard conversation, Thomas's late nights, the flirtatious messages. Initially shocked, my mom's anger quickly flared. That rotten scoundrel, she paced the kitchen, furious, playing happy families while scheming behind your back. Her support felt like the strength I needed to confront the situation and protect myself from further deception. Then, my mom's anger dissolved into a deep, hearty laugh that echoed through the kitchen. Oh, Bella, they think they're playing a smart game, but they've got a rude awakening coming. Just wait until the will is read. They won't know what hit them. Her confidence was contagious, and for the first time since that dreadful night, I felt a glimmer of hope. So, we just wait? That's the plan? I asked, still a bit unsure. Exactly, she confirmed with a nod. Let them build their castles in the air. We're about to ground them. Back at home, Thomas hadn't moved an inch, still engrossed with his phone, likely messaging that woman. But it didn't bother me anymore. I was armed with a plan and the truth on my side. That night, I went to bed not with a heart heavy with dread, but with a mind alive with strategy and the sweet anticipation of justice soon to be served. The day to read my dad's will finally arrived, slicing through the tension in the lawyer's office like a knife. Thomas and his mom were visibly thrilled, practically vibrating with excitement, convinced they were about to inherit a fortune. I sat calmly, almost enjoying the build-up, knowing full well the dramatic twist that was about to unfold, thanks to my mom's earlier hint. We all gathered in the small, stuffy office, the air thick with anticipation. Thomas kept checking his watch, and Mrs. Susan was tapping her foot incessantly, like they were at the threshold of winning the lottery. Mr. Vincent, the lawyer, cleared his throat and opened the thick folder before him. Thank you all for coming today. As per Mr. Jason's wishes, I will now read the last will and testament. Thomas leaned forward, eagerly perched on the edge of his seat. His mother muttered, "Here we go," rubbing her hands together as if preparing to unwrap a lavish gift. Mr. Vincent waded through the preliminary legal formalities before reaching the crux of the matter. To my daughter Bella, I leave the sum of $20 million. Mrs. Susan let out a small squeal of delight, and Thomas gave me a look that was probably intended to be comforting but came across as smug. I remained expressionless, my gaze fixed straight ahead as Mr. Vincent continued. However, it must also be noted that along with this inheritance, there are debts incurred by Mr. Jason amounting to $25 million. The room fell into a stunned silence. You could have heard a pin drop. Thomas's expression quickly shifted from smugness to shock to an ashen pallor. His mother was livid. This must be some mistake. We need to see the documents, the proof. Mr. Vincent, ever the professional, began distributing copies of the financial statements and debt notices. Everything is documented here. If you have any questions, you can consult with your legal advisor. As the weight of reality settled in, my mom stood, her voice calm yet piercing the tense air. Thomas, you need to understand that my husband had a weakness for gambling. He made debts, borrowed from people, from banks. I hope you'll be noble in this situation and help Bella with these debts. Thomas and his mother looked as if they had been struck. Their initial shock quickly morphed into outrage. Help pay the debts? Are you out of your mind? We're not paying for anything. Their protests filled the room, but I sat quietly, the chaos unfolding exactly as I had anticipated, with a stoic calmness, fortified by the foresight of my mother's advice. We didn't spend much time with Thomas's mom, but when we did, she quickly dropped her polite act. I could see the change in her demeanor. Her earlier friendliness was completely gone. Thomas, sensing the tension, also seemed eager to disengage from the situation. I want a divorce, Bella, he said coldly, and in the divorce we'll agree that neither of us will claim any money or property from each other. That's it. I stared at him, feeling a confusing mix of relief and disgust. Okay, Thomas, if that's what you want, I agree. We can get the divorce papers ready. As we walked out of the lawyer's office, I felt the tension between us, each of us holding on to our own emotions. Thomas and his mother stormed out, fuming and defeated. My mom squeezed my hand and gave me a reassuring look. It's going to be okay, Bella. We're better off without them, she said softly, trying to comfort me. After we signed the divorce papers, Thomas and his mother couldn't help but show their true colors one last time. As we left the lawyer's office, I heard them snickering behind me. Thomas's mom smirked and said, Well, at least now she'll be drowning in her father's debts, $1 million in the hole. Thomas laughed, looking back at me with a mocking grin. Yeah, good luck dealing with that mess, Bella. Despite their words, I couldn't help but chuckle, which seemed to confuse them. Thomas frowned and asked, Why the hell are you laughing? That's when my mom finally spoke up. She had been quietly observing everything, but now she was ready to set the record straight. Thomas, you've got it all wrong, she said calmly. I've been the one managing our finances all along. Your father-in-law, bless his soul, wasn't the financial wizard everyone thought he was. The smug expressions on their faces faltered. What are you talking about? Thomas's mom snapped, her annoyance clear. My mom smiled, her gaze steady and unwavering. I'm the one who made all the successful investments and stock deals. My net worth is around $66 million, so I can cover Bella's inherited debts without breaking a sweat. Thomas's face turned pale as he processed this information. Wait, what? Are you serious? Yes, my mom replied, her tone unwavering. And since I'm in a generous mood, I've decided to give Bella a beautiful house, one that she won't have to share with anyone, especially not a gold digger. The shock on their faces was priceless. Thomas actually dropped to his knees. His previous arrogance vanished. Bella, please, I didn't mean any of it. I was just mixed up. I turned my back on him, leaving him and his mother stunned and struggling to comprehend the revelation. As we walked away, I decided to block their numbers on my phone. I wanted nothing more to do with either of them. Weeks later, I heard through mutual friends that Thomas was in trouble. His debts had caught up with him, and the loan sharks were after him. He tried to reach out, sending desperate messages through our friends, begging for help. But I didn't waver. When a friend relayed his pleas to me, I simply said, Tell him I wish him the best of luck. That was the most support I could offer him.